Hey MGTOWs, just finished harvesting my plum tree out front. I picked most of the fruit fairly green. Like these things become a good deal darker when they're fully ripe. More like that. This one's ready for eating right here. But so basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them all in this state. I'm going to sort them, make sure they're all green. And then I'm going to install my refrigerator conversion for my deep freeze out in the shed. And then throw these plus my acorn squash in a low temperature, like 33 degrees situation. Then I'll be able to pull them out as I need them and set them in the windowsill and ripen them up. And they'll be a good thing to bring to work. And I'm gonna figure out how to make jam. Okay, now for the kit conversion. Okay, here's the kit for turning a deep freeze into a refrigerator. And I gotta say, I'm experiencing one of those moments when things are just going so well. It's like listening to some good tunes with my awesome sound suppressing headset. It's one of those Bose things. As you can see, I patched, did a little work on my deck the other week, and that horrible big bear spot is taken care of. I should be good for a couple more years. Yeah. You can see the grapes are starting to cover the side trellis. Hold on. The neighbor dog likes to bark, so I've got a recipe to solve her. And she stops, so then I shut it off. Good times. So I'm going to put this kit in, then I'm going to sort my plums and load the refrigerator with the more green ones. And then, yeah, good times. Don't mind if I do. Oh. A neat little system. The refrigeration is controlled by this little control right here. Then it's got a double power lead, and then it just turns the power to the freezer on just by effectively unplugging it and plugging it back in, controlling the temperature down to refrigeration levels or whatever you want, actually. And it's I've heard in low power situations like off-grid, this is the situation they use when they want refrigeration. So so that kind of works out. I'm going to tape it up, and I drilled a hole, put the sensor inside. I'll clean it up and make it look a little neater, and then switch the puppy on. And if it's behaving properly in the morning, I'll put those plums in. I don't want to risk freezing them. Yeah, good times. And do these plums ever smell good? Sheesh! I've got to get these things out of my house. Alrighty. Well, now I'm sorting the green ones, the ones that are pretty darn hard, into this separate container. And these things are going straight into my house refrigerator. And then all of these are ripe or ready or a little bit damaged. So I will see what I can do with them. I'm almost thinking I might want to try to make some jam. I heard that plum jam is really good. Got some low sugar pectin. That's this stuff right here. And got some instructions. I think I'm going to give this thing a shot. Whoa, firecracker. At least I hope that's what it was. Anyway, I better go investigate. Thing out of order. Huh, weird. Anyway, with these green ones, I'm going to keep these in the deep freeze refrigerator. And if theory works out, I could very well have fresh plums in December or January. We shall see. I wanted to do this last year, but man, I had so much on my plate, I just didn't get around to it. Oh well. Not a bad harvest, considering I never watered and all I did was plug a few plants into the ground. Very little effort required with this style of gardening. But yeah, I got a few. So now is the time to pick them. Whoops. These are acorn squash. I just had made a couple for dinner the other day with plum sauce from the attempt at canning jelly. But considering how easy these things are to grow, all it takes is just a little bit of mulch and they just pop out of the ground a couple months later. Good times. Let's see, I think that's about it. Harvest complete. Okay, well, I'll load them in my little refrigerator converted deep freeze, and I should have acorn squash for a couple months. Good times. Okay, the deep refrigerator is now locked and loaded. I've got plums on the left and acorn squash on the right, and it'll be at about 33 degrees when it finishes cooling down. And you know, you might be wondering why I bought a $300 deep freeze plus a $100 kit and all this infrastructure for acorn squash that I could buy at a farm stand for like $20, if that. But the thing is, it's infrastructure that I'm sort of laying down because I don't really talk about it that much in my videos. My channel is mostly a MGTOW channel more than a prepper channel, right? But you guys have been watching, I assume, and seeing what's happening in Greece and China right now, and all this money is just being destroyed and sucked out of the economy and swallowed down the black hole of the banks. And basically, we're due for another big, huge financial downturn here, and this one is going to be worse, it looks like, than 2008. Now, part of the reason why I'm studying all of this permaculture, part of the reason I've even bought this house, because I was pretty happy in the condo, but part of the reason is that I wanted to be able to have productivity here, you know, just right here, that is not dependent upon the economy or anything. Now, that hugelkultur bed and the other gardens and everything, I didn't maintain them very well in the spring. I was on swing shift and I was just not really energetic. But now I'm on day shift again. I would have done a lot better. But basically, the ability to set your place up so that food just pops out of the ground is a tremendous thing to have. I mean, it's just, it adds to your personal security rather dramatically, and it's not dependent upon the economy. we could have like a 1929 absolute implosion in the economy, right? And I could lose my job and all that stuff, but as long as I could hold on to this place, food would be popping up out of the ground. For example, yesterday, my dad is home and my sister is visiting, and I cooked acorn squash with plum sauce. The plums from the tree and the acorn squash from the bed over there. Very tasty and totally created right here. And probably in a year or so, I'm going to want to step it up a little bit and begin with chickens. Probably just get a couple or three at first, probably just hens, and then get some productivity going and move them through the property just like a paddock shift system, similar to what geez, I can't remember this guy's name, but he has the most fantastic system. Holmgren, maybe. Anyway, he basically runs cows through a series of like 20 paddocks or 20 grazing places, and they're all fenced, and then basically once they eat the grass down, they move them on to the next plot, and then every like 3 days they move them, and then 3 to 5 days behind the cows come the chickens, right? And the chickens are, as soon as they open the door, the chickens charge into the new area. Then they can drag the big chicken coop, and what it does, I mean, all the chicken candy is on the next paddock over, so they have no problem getting them moved. And then they run to all the cow patties that have been eggs have been laid by flies, and basically they move them through so that the chickens get to the cow patties before the flies hatch, so they don't have a fly problem on that property. And then the chickens scratch the cow patties out and spread them out, and then and they eat all the maggots and whatnot and the bugs that have been eating the cow patties, and then they go on to the rest of the thing, and then just as soon as the chickens then move on, shortly after that, there's just this explosion of growth in the pasture, and it's actually building soil to such an extent that they're having to replace their fences because the ground level is raising up and up, and the fences are then like half buried under the soil. And considering like commercial agriculture is, they have a problem, the opposite problem. The soil is being lost every year, and then eventually all the organisms are wiped out, and the soil just becomes a sponge for commercial fertilizers and pesticides and all that, and then it's almost like hydroponics. There's no nature in it at all, and then every year the rains hit, and then they lose soil. But anyway, I want to do a little bit of something like that, moving chickens through the property, and in that way. And they do eat grass, and they eat bugs and whatnot, and then when there's like kitchen scraps and things that normally are composted, I would be able to plug the chickens right into that spot, and it's almost like putting something on a circuit board. There's like power and ground, and you can put multiple things between power and ground, but in this case it's a waste stream coming out of the kitchen or off the fruit trees the wormy fruit or something, then we can plug the chickens in there, and then that captures that productivity that would normally be lost. And then the chicken manure can be thrown onto the mulch and in the garden, and then the rains wash it down to the soil, and the soil organisms scarf that up, and then they turn around and feed the plants. What you do, the soil is alive. You feed the soil, and then the soil feeds your plants. And just like those over there, I never watered once. During the hottest part of the summer right now, the squash leaves were starting to shrivel up, and some of them were dying, and one of the smallest bushes did die. But those are, they're in the wrong spot. Those squash are an understory. They're supposed to live in a place that has like broken shade, speckled shade. They're because those giant leaves are designed to really capture every little bit of sun that hits them, and they are in massive overload in that location. So I'm going to have to think of a better thing to put there. But the reason why I'm doing this is to learn how to make a property like this, or just a regular suburban lot, although this is bigger than usual, make it produce for me, and turn my home into a homestead. And instead of just a financial expense, it actually kicks back something. It actually creates something similar to an income. And as economic times get more rough, people are going to need to know this shit. So I am doing what I can to learn it now, and when I learn it, then I'll be able to share that information with my neighbors and whatnot, and people on YouTube, and that will sort of smooth over the worst part of the next serious recession that we're going into. So that's the plan. That's what I'm up to. Okay, but yeah, I got, for a good deal of effort, way more. I mean, the growing the food took almost no effort, but preserving the harvest takes some effort. But I could have gotten this much food very easily right now because we have a functioning economy. But that might not always be the case. As time goes on, as money gets short and gas gets expensive and things like that, I am basically preparing myself so that I can weather the storm. I keep this scooter. It's a 150cc scooter that is it'll go about 60 miles an hour up a slight incline. This is a 40 mile an hour electric bike. I mean, I've had it up to like 45. The thing screams. For a bicycle, it's freaking fast. But either one of these have their purpose, although they're not practical right now. The time may come when I have to commute really frugally, and these are options for that, basically. Okay, well, I guess I will let you guys go. See ya.